All right. Hello, how are you doing? I hope that you're fine. And today we are going to be looking at auxiliary verbs in the English language. And this is going to be with me, Rudolf and Nsang. All right, let's get going. First of all, I would like us to talk about what auxiliary verbs are. You need to know that in English language, conjugation is done with the use of auxiliary verbs. If you need to conjugate a verb, of course, is an action, a word that shows or that describes an action. If you need to conjugate a verb, in other words, if you want to say whether an action took place in the present, in the past, or it will take place in the future, then you will have to use auxiliary verbs to indicate them, especially when it comes to talking about an action that took place in the past and an action that will take place in the future. But of course, verbs in the present tense also use or make use of auxiliary verbs. So, last week we talked about verbs and verb tenses in English language. We looked at aspect and time and how they contribute to make up verbs in English language. So today, we are going to move one step ahead to talk about auxiliary verbs in English language. So I'm going to take this off and then we are going to move. Okay. As far as auxiliary verbs are concerned, there are two types in English. So we are going to say here types. Type 1, we have primary auxiliaries. Which are the primary auxiliary verbs to be, to have, and to do. And then we have the second type here, which are secondary or modern auxiliaries, which are, for instance, should, will, shall, may, could, and etc. Of course, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of secondary auxiliary verbs. And our focus is going to be on the primary auxiliary verbs. This is where we are going to focus. This is our focus for today. As far as the second category or second type is concerned, that is secondary or modern auxiliaries, which are should, will, shall, may, could. They are most often used to conjugate verbs in the future tense and sometimes conditionals and so on. They get to indicate mood, or sometimes they get to indicate perspectives per se. Okay, whether someone is being objective or someone is being persuasive or someone is being whatever. Okay, so we are not going to be using this ones. Well, we will not be talking about this. This is where our focus is going to be, because we are looking at verbs and how verbs can be conjugated in English language. So I'm going to take away this one. All right. The primary auxiliaries are to be, to have, and to do. For conjugation purposes, donc je vais dire, pour le but de conjuguer les verbes en anglais, nous n'allons pas utiliser le verbe to do. Nous allons simplement utiliser les verbes en fait to be et to have, en fait les auxiliaires to be et to have. C'est tout comme en français où on a deux auxiliaires. Il y a l'auxiliaire être et l'auxiliaire avoir qui sont utilisés pour la conjugaison en général. Donc pour aujourd'hui, on va se focaliser sur le verbe to be, un peu comme être, et to have, un peu comme avoir. To do n'est pas aussi utilisé pour la conjugaison. Donc on ne va pas utiliser ça. So we take away this one. Alright, now we are left with just two. First of all, why do they call them primary auxiliaries? Pourquoi on les appelle des auxiliaires de base, si je peux dire? First, it is simply because, well, that's the only reason, because they can be used either as full verbs or as auxiliary verbs. Même chose comme en français, ok? Les auxiliaires avoir et être peuvent utiliser soit comme des auxiliaires ou encore comme des verbes complets. Par exemple, quand le philosophe dit « je suis », non, je pense, donc je suis. Je pense, donc je suis. Dans ce cas, je suis qui est dérivé donc du verbe de l'auxiliaire être. Dans ce cas, est un verbe complet, ce n'est pas justement un auxiliaire. C'est dans la même chose en français, en anglais, pardon, où ces deux verbes peuvent être utilisés comme des verbes complets, donc des verbes d'action, ou encore les verbes de mot, des verbes complets, ou encore donc comme des auxiliaires. Donc, auxiliaire veut dire, ça peut donc être utilisé pour conjuguer d'autres verbes. Ok. So, that is just why we call them primary auxiliaries. Either they are used as full verbs or they are used as auxiliary verbs. But take note, our focus, or the focus of this lesson, is to see how these verbs can help us in conjugation, in conjugating verbs in English. So I'm going to take up this one, we'll come back to that again, so we can create space on the board. Alright. Let's take a very simple way. Last week we talked about a few things. We talked about aspects, not so. We talked about the simple aspect. Simple. Well, let's put it all together. Simple. We talked about the continuous. We talked about the perfect. And we talked about the perfect. Continuous. I'll break this down. I'm talking about aspects. Okay, this is aspect. Good. Now, take note that we have the verbs to be and Okay. To have. As far as conjugations are concerned, that means if you have to conjugate verbs in English, if you're talking about any tense which is in the simple aspect, you will be using the verb to be. If you're talking about, or if you want to conjugate a verb in any tense that has to do with the continuous aspect, you will still talk about the verb to be. For the perfect, you talk about the verb to have, and for the perfect continuous, you talk about the verb to be, to have plus be. Let's put it here. Plus be. Okay. So let's take it this way. Okay. Good. I'm sure it's very simple. J'espère que c'est facile à comprendre. Donc je te dis, quand on veut conjuguer un verbe dans le simple, qui a le mode simple, nous allons utiliser le verbe to be dans toutes ses formes en fait. Quand on veut parler donc quand on veut conjuguer le verbe dans un temps qui a fait avec le continuous, avec le mode continuous, on va toujours utiliser to be. Le mode perfect, on utilise to have, et le mode perfect continuous, on utilise le verbe to have plus been. Ok. Nous allons prendre ça du genre, par exemple, disons, je vais dire, disons, present simple. Pour arriver ça, let's remove this one. Present simple tense. Present simple tense. En present simple. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut encore faire? Bon, ça va. Prenons là. Prenons present. Ok. Ou encore, commençons par past. Let's start with past, ok? Past. Present. Future. Si moi je veux le past simple, par exemple, je vais justement par dire, peut-être, disons, utilisons le verbe manger. Donc, that's the verb to eat. The verb to eat. No, so let's use that verb and see how it's going to go. All right. So past simple. Okay, we say we use the verb to be. For instance, I eat. Dans ce cas, on ne fait pas trop usage de be. Mais prenons encore donc un autre exemple un peu plus pur, par exemple. Mais dans ce cas, nous serons donc forcés d'utiliser le verbe to be comme un verbe, pardon, l'auxiliaire to be comme un verbe complet. Par exemple, I am ou encore he is, comme on dit je suis. Vous voyez un peu? Donc le verbe to be sera donc utilisé dans ce cas pas pour la conjugaison, mais plutôt comme un verbe complet. Donc vraiment c'est pas aussi évident donc, de conjuguer avec to be, mais je crois qu'il y a donc des situations comme ça. So we're just going to talk about that, you know, in the course of our discussions. All right. For the continuous, okay. The past, for instance, the past continuous talk about past continuous, we talk about I had No. I was eating. I was eating. Alright. It's really confusing though. So I was eating, where was is a form of the verb to be. Okay, of course, plus ing, because for the continuous tense, you know we always have to use the ing form. And then for the perfect tense, the same, I ate. So I had eaten, where we have the auxiliary have conjugated in the past tense. So I had eaten. And then we have the perfect continuous, where we have to have plus be. That is, for instance, I had been eating, of course. You know very well, whenever we have the continuous, we always need an ing. Chaque fois qu'on parle donc du continuous tense, nous devons toujours ajouter le ing à la fin du verbe. Donc pour dire ça continue. Donc, so we have, for instance, I eat. Oh, what's that? I made a big mistake there, sorry. I ate. Okay, sorry for that. So I ate. I was eating, that's the past continuous tense. Past perfect tense, I had eaten. And past perfect continuous tense, I had been eating. Juste un petit point qu'on rentre un peu donc, au niveau du perfect. Quand on parle du perfect tense simplement, nous utilisons le verbe au participe passé. Yeah, the past participle of the verb. Donc chaque fois qu'on conjugue le verbe to have, okay, si le verbe to have est utilisé comme auxiliaire, tout autre verbe qui vient donc après ça vient au participe passé. Donc I had eaten. C'est pour cela qu'on a eaten là. Ici la terminaison est avec en. Bon, c'est pas tous les verbes qui prennent en quand c'est donc au participe passé. Il y a d'autres verbes, les verbes irréguliers, qui ne prennent pas en à la fin. Par exemple, prenons le verbe to sleep, donc dormir. So I sleep, I slept, et past participle, I slept. Donc sleep, slept, slept. Ça ne prend vraiment pas in. Donc tu devrais juste savoir, vous devrez juste savoir comment, vous devrez déjà avoir une connaissance des différents verbes et comment nous changer les verbes du présent au passé et au participe passé. Okay. Next, as far as the present tense is concerned, we may talk about, nous utilisons toujours le verbe eat, ok? Là, ce serait donc I eat. Je mets un trait là. I eat, past continuous tense. I have, oh, I am eating. Perfect tense. I have eaten. Vous vous rappelez de tout ça, n'est-ce pas? Vous vous rappelez de tout ça, j'espère. Et dernièrement, I have been eating. Nous avons le verbe to have dans le présent cette fois-ci, parce que tout ça c'est dans le présent. Ici le verbe to be, toujours dans le présent, première personne du singulier, I am. Et dernièrement, nous allons une minute. S'il vous plaît. Oui. Non, ça va, ça. Ok, désolé. Et dernièrement, nous avons donc future tense ou future simple, on utilise toujours le verbe to eat. Donc justement dit, I will eat. Bon, quand nous avons parlé du modal auxiliaries, on a bien dit que c'est souvent utilisé pour conjuguer les verbes dans le futur. So we most often use those verbs to conjugate, we most often use modal auxiliaries, to conjugate verbs in the future tense. So like this one, will comes in, and we are going to use will everywhere. Donc on va l'utiliser un peu de partout parce que c'est le futur. Mais, so I will eat, future continuous, I will be eating, right? Be, verb to be. Next, perfect. I will. Parfait. Je souligne ça parce que c'est plus là. I will have been eating. I will have been. No, pardon. I will have eaten. Oh, là, ça devrait plutôt aller dans l'autre côté. I will have eaten. Ok. Et ici, I will have been eating. Donc, I will have been eating. Ok. Je reprends encore. Simple, future simple tense, I will eat. Future continuous tense, I will be eating. Future perfect tense, I will have eaten. Eaten. Future perfect continuous tense, I will have been eating. Et déjà, nous avons toujours ing qui tombe là. So, in simple terms, this is just a little table that can help you to maybe understand a little bit about auxiliary verbs. So I'm going to take off this one and then we'll talk about auxiliary verbs as far as the past, the present, and the future tenses are concerned. Oh, maybe you take it that way. First of all, all right. Ok, dernière chose, nous allons justement regarder les auxiliaires encore, mais déjà leur conjuguer dans le passé, le présent et le futur. Ces deux auxiliaires qu'on a eu à travailler dessus, to be and to have. Premièrement, to be. We have the 6 persons. I, you, he, she, it, me, you, and they. Present. Commençons avec le passé. Past. Commençons avec le passé. Past. Present. Future. Okay. To be, I am. You are. He or she. He, she, it. Oh, qu'est-ce que je fais? Past, past. I keep mixing up the past and the present, so normally this one I should have had it here. I always like to start with the present tense. It's okay. So maybe let's start from here. Yeah. So I am, you are, he or she is, we are, you are, and they are. Okay, let's now go back to the past tense. Okay. I was, you were, he or she was, we were, they, you were, and they were. Future, I will be, we will be, will be, will be, and will be. All right. You see, it's simple. Très simple. To be in the different persons. There's 6 different persons, and we have them in the past, the present, and the future tenses. Very simple. So look at it before we move. All right, lastly, now we have the second verb to have. Here, it's as simple as the very first one. So let's still begin from here, the present tense. I have, you have, you, he or she, has, we have, and have. It covers the present. I, you had, have, and have. Cause, future. We have, we have, we have, and we have. You can see it again. The verb to have, the past, in the present, and in the future. Well, have some time to look at it. Okay, that's all about it for today. We only looked at the auxiliary verbs in English language. We focused on primary auxiliaries. So you just need to go through these lessons and learn. And we are going to have a session online where you can ask questions if or you have any questions. Donc, préparez toutes vos questions si vous les en avez, et puis le jour qu'on puisse se rencontrer, soit en ligne, soit en personne, vous pouvez donc poser toutes ces questions concernant les auxiliaires en anglais. Je vous encourage aussi de faire plus de recherches et d'avoir plus de questions. Alors, merci beaucoup. Goodbye.